if I say that the central theme for After 30 is self-sabotage or a burning desire to keep making bad decisions, I don't think I'll be wrong. Because these four characters we've spent almost 10 years trying to catch up with again just felt the need to make bad decisions. Yeah, that's After 30 in a nutshell. Now let's get into the nitty-gritty of it all. After 30 follows the lives of these four characters, Temi, Ama, Nkem, and Aisha. These four friends are, well, best friends. We first caught up with them in Before 30, which aired some 10 years ago, I think 2015. Now, that's about 10 years, actually. Yes, I'm right. But in universe, we've been told that it's 8 years that has passed for these ladies. They are now even more successful than they were when we first met them in Before 30. And one thing I liked about the movie, which I'll just say out of the bat, is that it just spent the first couple of minutes trying to catch us up on what has been happening in these ladies' lives. If you remember Before 30, you know that that series, yes, Before 30 was a series and After 30 is a sequel movie. Catch on. Now, you remember that Before 30, the series ended with a cliffhanger where Damilola Adegbite, played by Damilola Adegbite, had to make her choice who she wanted between this guy, Ayo, and this guy, Akin. It's been 10 years of excruciatingly waiting for answers, especially since the actor who played Akin, 𝐂𝐨𝐧𝐯𝐞𝐫𝐬𝐚𝐭, died in real life, So I liked how the movie spent some time trying to catch us up on what has been happening with these characters, because let's face it, the characters it's been 10 years, for us, but 8 years, and the characters, something must have been happening in those 8 years. And the film tries to just bring us to speed quickly so that whoever hasn't watched the prequel can easily follow up and, just take it as backstory for these characters. And for those of us who will be waiting for answers, we do get answers. Answers to like, who did Temi choose? We see that she chose Akin, which is, the best choice possible. He's the better man between the two, if we're being honest, And we get that. And the story, the movie, tries to pay homage to 𝐂𝐨𝐴. And it was nice. It was a short funeral scene where Akin was also dead in universe. And it was really nice the way they tied that up neatly, and we just got up to speed with what's happening right now. So Temi, still looking for love, but I think there's this sense of urgency that has sort of dissipated, before she wanted to get married before she was 30. I think she was around 28 in the original series. And now she's well into her 30s, comfortable, even confident more than ever before as a lawyer in her career, and as a person seeking love. And the movie tells us, lest I forget, there will be spoilers in this review because this film is available to stream currently on Prime Video. So this is the only warning you get. So Temi is anti-love after her epic love story with Akin comes to an unfortunate end because Akin dies of cancer. Wherever she sees people doing lovey-dovey and kissy-kissy, she gets sick to her stomach, and that was hilarious to see, But then comes this guy, Kunle, played by Samuel Asa. Kunle is the wealthy son of a wealthy man, a billionaire or something, and I think he's first her client, and then something, and And not just that they are in love, Kunle proposes. We get to understand that they dated for about a year before he popped the question, and she says yes. Everything is going smoothly for her. She's counting down the days for her to get married. And then out of the blues, Ayo comes back into her life. Now, there was a line in this film that said Ayo has her mumu button, according to her friends, and I couldn't agree more, because the moment he comes back in, then he starts to self-destruct, which follows a very familiar thread from the original series where she was just silly. Whatever Ayo is concerned, she starts to misbehave, and that comes into play now. So she might be 8 years older, but is she the wiser for it? I don't think so. But that's Temi. I will return back to her. Then we have Aisha. Aisha, we are told, when we left Aisha in the original series, she and her husband had this clash over he wanting to reenact a threesome experience they had in Brazil, and then she wasn't having it, and she went to her parents' house. But we're told that they reconciled and their love became even stronger. And 2 years after that incident, Aisha gave birth to a baby girl. Beautiful stuff. But now Aisha gets she suffers through that not necessarily pregnancies, the childbirth experience and post-childbirth experience. It was terrible for her. And for some reason, her husband couldn't understand how terrible it was for her. And then along the line, started catching baby fever and wanted another child, and Aisha was just not having it. And that's more or less her thread. And her storyline in this sequel movie is very much connected to Nkem, who is trying to give up her boy toy ways, messing around with almost any guy that catches her fancy. She's about to give that up for a child of her own. She catches the baby fever too. Something is in the air in the sequel. She catches the baby fever too and wants a child. But Aisha doesn't think that her friend Nkem is serious. She thinks it's just one of those things where Nkem will change her mind tomorrow. And sort of, well, to be fair to Nkem, these things are not clear cut. Nkem is not even looking at it the traditional way, like her friends point out. She just wants a child. So she doesn't exactly consider it seriously, but she just is throwing her options around surrogacy, so many things, whether to just get pregnant, whether to do IVF because she had frozen her egg. But then she finally settles for adoption with an agency, but where she wants to get the baby from sort of has ties to Aisha. I'm going to think that Aisha is a benefactor to this foundation. Aisha and her husband are wealthy, and these two storylines are very much married together because there is one of them, Nkem, who wants a baby, and then there is Aisha, who doesn't want a baby, who knows that a baby or a child is a serious responsibility and doesn't think her friend is giving it that much thought, that deep thought that is needed, and well, they clash, they make up, and then they have this big clash at the end of towards the end of the movie, and it's something. We'll get back to them, and that. Then there is, who again is left? There is Amma, I'm sorry. And then there is Amma. Amma is played by Anee Icha. Amma has always been like that piece that doesn't exactly fit, the entire puzzle. That's always been her theme. And in this movie, that sort of stands out some more in the sense that Amma comes into contact with a huge sum of money she never thought possible, inheritance from her godmother, who did not have a child of her own. And so Amma also inherits a restaurant and, has to revamp the restaurant, find a nice place. And she has this new friend, Alice, who, let's just say, wants to be more than a friend. Now, Amma doesn't see this early enough, but her friends do, and they tell her, and they're like, this is the 21st century, nobody cares, just do what you got to do. It takes Amma some time, and then at the end of the day, Amma has to make a tough choice, to just follow normalcy, follow status quo, follow what the society expects, and not leave this taboo, fire breathing, much looking sincere love a chance, and it's a heartbreaking stuff for her. Now, I think of all these ladies, Amma's journey or Amma's story arc is the least self-destructive. Now, the story wants to paint it that way, but I also understand the empathetic angle, of how you wouldn't blame her for not having the balls to just do something out of the ordinary in a society like Nigeria, So I think of all four of them, she's the least self-destructive. Demi, very much self-destructive, because tell me why you are not just entertaining Ayo 2 weeks to your wedding, you cheat on your so-called soulmate. I don't think anything pissed me off as much as that in this entire thing, because it's not just that Demi cheated and is silly for cheating. She's trying to justify that Ayo is her soulmate, and for that, please, God, I beg. I don't know. Social media has been abuzz with so many reactions, which I think is justified to an extent, that these ladies are none the wiser for it. They were still in their 20s and are still deep into their 30s, especially Temi, no growth and yada yada. But I think I also understand the angle where the story is coming from, or the movie. Real life is actually very messy. People don't magically become smarter or wiser for it. People don't suddenly or magically become this very wise entities simply because they are 30 and above. Real life is not like that. When someone coined this phrase, a fool at 40, I'm sure it's because they had experienced sort of this kind of thing in their own peripheral. Because these ladies are foolish at 30 plus. And for me, I sort of appreciate that desire to go this deep, dirty, or not necessarily dirty, but this dark path. That the story, it was the unconventional answer. The movie could have decided to just, let's take the cynic route and do something nice and sweet. These ladies didn't get married in their 20s. Let's just set them on the path of righteousness and fairy tale. But they choose not to do that, choose to take the hard road. And Why don't understand a lot of people not wanting it because sometimes you go to the movie to experience, something different from reality. But it's also good to be reminded that it's not perfect. Life is not perfect. It's not perfect science. People like Temi do exist. People who self-destruct. They themselves cannot even explain it. It's crazy. People like Nkem exist. I am a sexual being. I explore, and then you know what? I want to settle down, and I'm not even considering the traditional route of it. People like that exist. People like Aisha exist who have passed through deep traumatic events, courtesy of childbirth, and they love their husbands and cannot express themselves to their husband. These things are real life things, it's a thing. And I actually appreciate the film for not going the easy route. I tell you now, character wise, and as somebody who has followed these characters for years, it is still disappointing, character wise. I'm disappointed in all of them, and disappointed in Temi for not being. Come on. CUC 40. This love burning passion thing you have with Ayo, just give it up, and but it is not working. She herself at the end of the day admitted it that love simply is not enough, because ended up getting messy. And then the story this time around sort of ends up in the way that the original one does, with a cliffhanger. Temi realizes that Ayo is not the way because his own fiance, who he also dumped, turned up and said she's pregnant. And Temi is like, I can't be a stepmom. No. I can't be a stepmom. And that is the only thing that takes her, to reset her brain. And then she flies all the way to wherever just to show up at police door. And I'm like, why? That was silly. Now, as far as the friendship and, the chemistry within the ladies and the characters, I think they still have it. All four of them still have it. It was one of the things I appreciated a lot about the original series, the chemistry. You could feel it. You could feel it that this is a knit of, a close knit of close friends. I hope I'm not chewing my words wrong. But yeah, you get what I mean. So and that chemistry carried over 10 years later, for us. It is still there. These actors are older, more experienced, and you see it in the way they interact, with their characters or ask their characters. And it's a nice thing to experience. There's something also this film does that I like. It showed these ladies clash. The thing about Aisha and Nkem I mentioned before, it comes to a boiling point where they get into a very, very heated argument on the day that Ama is launching her new restaurant. It's a mess. And it was one of my favorite scenes in the whole movie because I always complained about how Before 30 just showed these ladies as this very perfect quartet that, never quarrels. But we know that real life is not like that. I have friends that, circle of friends, and we, every now and then, we get into it. I feel like it's a part of life. Now, these ladies' own is really, really heated, and they say very nasty things that were told to each other in confidence, but the game is the game. If you go low, I go low, I suppose. So that was something I liked. Generally, I don't hate After 30. I don't think it has the same cultural impact as Before 30 did. The camera might be brighter, the colors might be popping, everything is shiny and sweet. I don't think it has that enduring factor as Before 30. But then, it is a continuation, it is a sequel, and for that, it's not bad. Honestly, I didn't hate the film. I don't think it's great. The writing sometimes, just takes us on journeys I don't fully get behind. But for what it's worth, I don't hate it. I think that the mess that it shows these characters existing it worked for me. It worked for me because real life is messy. Take it from me. It is messy. But then let me know what you think. If you've seen After 30, did you like it? Let me know in the comments. If you hated it with all your might, with all your strength, you think it was a waste of time and that Nemsia Studios should never have revisited this franchise the way it did, let me know as well. As always, like, share, subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.